Hello and welcome back. If you noticed, anything related to the gig service have not been added to our API gateway. It was by design because I just wanted us to finish with the gig service and then we add the gig service controllers and routes to the API gateway service. Okay, so we'll finish once we are done with the gig service. We then add what we need to add to the API gateway service. Now we want to create the seed data function. Okay, so I'll create it inside the gig service. I think it's fine if we add it here. I don't want to create a separate file. Okay, so I'll just create it inside this gig service. Okay, and down here. Okay, so it's going to be a method that will be used to just seed some gig data, and the function I'll call this seed data is going to be asynchronous. I'm going to pass an array of sellers, seller documents. Okay, it's going to be an array, and then I'll pass the count value. Yeah, it's going to be a string. We are going to pass it to an int. This will return a promise of void right here. Okay, and I can export this. I'll call this seed data. Okay, now what I want to do is I already typed out the categories, some data, so I will just paste them here. Okay, so what I have here, I have the categories that I will randomly select from. So these are probably the categories that we are going to use. Okay, so graphics and design, digital marketing, writing and translation, and the others. Okay, you can add your own categories, okay, that you think you would like to have. Okay, so these are the categories, just an array of strings, and then the expected delivery. So on the front end, this is going to be in a drop down. Okay, so 1 day delivery, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. You can add as many as you want. Okay, and then the random ratings. Okay, so this is just a random setting the sum so that if we divide this 20 by 4, it will give you 5, 10 by 2, it will give you 5, 20 by 4, 5, 5, 5. Okay, so that we can test as well. So go ahead and add these variables and their values. Now let's go ahead and loop. Remember that we are sending this, or we are expecting this sellers array to be added to this seed. So we are going to loop through it. So I'll say for let I equal to 0, I less than sellers dot length I plus plus. Okay, and then here I will just construct the seller documents. Okay, of type I seller documents, and then this is going to be sellers. Just get the sellers at index I. Okay, now I want to construct the title. Now remember we are using Faker, so it's just going to be any random text. Okay, so title, I will just say I will, and then whatever Faker will add. Okay, so Faker, make sure you import it and you have it installed. .word .words. I think this is not yet. Okay, I have it right here. This is supposed to be equal to. Oh, sorry about that. And this is faker.word. It's a string, right? Oh yeah, there's a mistake. This is supposed to be a method 5. Okay, that is the title, and then I have the basic title, faker.commerce .product name. I have the basic description, faker.commerce.product description. Okay, and then the rating, const rating, I will use sample because I want to randomly select. We are getting sample from Lodash, and then I'll pass the random ratings. Okay, so it will randomly select from this list. Okay, we have the sum and the count. We're going to see how to use that. Now let us construct the object that we need. Okay, so I'll come right here, const gig of type iSeller gig. This should be iSeller gig. Okay, now we need a profile picture. Profile picture will be seller doc. So we want to use the actual profile picture of the seller, and then the seller ID. This will be seller doc dot underscore ID. The email, seller doc dot email. Then the username, this will be seller doc dot username. Remember, we have the seller doc right here. Okay, and then we have the title. Now I just want the title to be have a maximum length of 80. So I'll say title, and then if title right here, if title dot length is less than or equal to 80, then we set the value to title. Else we use title dot slice to get the first 80 characters. Okay, that is what we are doing right here. And then same with basic description or basic title. We want the basic title to be 40 characters. So 40 characters. So this is going to be basic title right here. And then basic description should be 100. Okay. So if basic description dot length is less than or equal to 100, set basic description. Otherwise, we want to get the first 100 characters. Okay. Now for the categories. So categories. Now we want to randomly select from these categories. Okay. So we randomly select the values. So it's going to be sample and then categories. Okay. And then here it expects this to be an array. Okay. Oh, sorry, a string. I beg your pardon. Expects it to be a string. Okay. And then we have the description, the full description. And this is going to be faker.lorem.sentences. And then the minimum sentence we want to have is true. The maximum is 4. Okay. And then I'll set tags. Okay, for the tags here, I will just use faker.commerce.product. Here, what I'm going to do, I'll just add it multiple times. Yeah, I'm not going to specify, so maybe I'll just add it 4 times. Okay, 3, 4. Okay, so the array, the tags will always have element size of, or the size of, or length of 4. And then we have the price. Okay, we can add, I think we can add categories or subcategories first. Let's add subcategories after categories. So subcategories will be faker.commerce.department. These are just values I'm adding, and then I can add it maybe 3 more times. Okay. And then let's go ahead and add the price. So price will be pass int, and then it's going to be faker.commerce.price, and then we add the minimum 20, the maximum 30. So the prices will always be between 20 and 30, and then this value will be 0. And the cover image, faker.image.url pic sum, and then we add the expected delivery. So expected delivery, we use sample. Remember, we already have an array expected delivery here, so we use sample, so it randomly selects, and then we pass the expected delivery. And here we need to add our sort ID. Okay, so pass int and then count to base at base 10, then plus I plus 1. So what this means is, for the first loop, remember we are starting I from 0. Okay, so the first loop where I is equal to 0, I'll set the count, so whatever the count is, plus I plus 1. So if count was 10, so the source ID for the first document will be 10 plus 0 plus 1, which is 11. The second one will be 10 plus 1 plus 1, just like that. So that is how we want to create the sort ID. Okay, and then we add the ratings count. The ratings count, I'm going to use, I will do something like this: I plus 1 modulo 4. If it's equal to 0, then rating count. So else is going to be 0. What this means is, for the after the first first 4 items, we want to set the ratings count. So for the first document, first, second, third, and fourth document, the ratings count will be 0. And then the fifth document, okay, the fifth document is going to add the ratings count. Then the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th documents will have the ratings count as 0. Then the 10th document. So that is what this means right here. Okay, so after every 4 loops, we want to set the ratings count, and then do the same thing. This will be rating sum, and then here it's going to be sum. Okay, remember we are dynamically getting them from here. Okay, and now this is the object that we want. Now all we just need to do here, I can do a console.log, and here I will just add seeding gig. Okay, and then I'll add just this information that I can display. I will use backticks. Okay, right here I will use backticks, and then I plus 1 of count. Okay, so this is just some comment, and then here this is how I'll call create gig method, and I'll pass in the gig. Okay, so this is what we need in order for us to be able to seed our gigs into the MongoDB database and also Elasticsearch. We'll stop here. In the next video, we are going to create a controller where we need to call this method.